My family moved to Forsyth in 1975, and when you're a young kid, the older guys, you always look up. 2 or 3 years is a long time when you're a kid. When you get old like I am now, it's not much. But all three of these guys, I guess that I'm gonna have the privilege of introducing real quick. I remember them playing and looking up to them and watching them play football when I was a little younger. And they didn't play just football, but we're in Forsyth, Georgia, and you know what that means. But our next inductee is David D.D. Sewell. And I know a lot of y'all know more about this than I do. I had a couple of conversations with Coach Pitts later in his life, and I know some guys that were on the 80 team the next year that won the state championship. Coach Pitts really felt like the 79 team, was a team that should have been there too. I know D.D., there was an injury and a kind of a crazy game right there at the end. And I remember I was at the game that year. I was in the 6th grade, and that was terrible the way that ended. But D.D. was the first black quarterback in Mary Persons, and a great athlete, not just football. Went on, played in college at Williams College. Mama is a Hall of Famer, and a wonderful family. And David D.D. Sewell is our next inductee in the Hall of Fame.
Good evening, everyone. To the Board of Directors, inductees, friends, and family. I'm truly honored and very appreciative of this nomination to the Forsyth Monroe County Sports Hall of Fame. Before I go any further, Ms. Trammell, Sonny, I agree. She's a great mother. We all love her. Wayne, I played for the Orioles. Ricky played for you guys. We never beat you, but we sure would like to have. No, we didn't. I played for Gene Maddox. We had a good team. Alvin Tolles, Jim Benson, and I all played together. On the inside of the program, we'll see the members of the Board of Commissioners listed. Please acknowledge them and take the time to let them know how appreciative we are for this and the hard work that they do to continue to bring this event for us. There are so many other deserving nominees for this honor. I'm just flabbergasted that I'm receiving the award, and I want to say thank you to the Board of Trustees from the bottom of my heart. The emphasis of this speech tonight is really to give thanks and credit to those who helped me be the player that I became. My success was a team effort that culminated from years of competitive sports of all kinds. My dad has already told me, don't get up here bragging, and my Coach Pitts would concur. He and I were very close, 5 years of constant year-round training. Always looked out for me in the small things. He never really wanted me to play other sports because football requires so much of a person who played quarterback. I started to play baseball as a pitcher, and he was the baseball coach. We were introducing baseball to Mary Persons, and he said, "Dee, this pitching baseball is not conducive to your passing motion throwing the football." So that was the end of baseball. I was also captain of the basketball team my senior year, and I was under the leadership of Coach James Love. Just a total different style of coaching, but a very inspirational coach to me as well. Coach Love knew your personal business. He knew who your girlfriend was. He knew when you cut curfew the night before. So he was very on point with you. Coach Pitts, because he didn't really like me playing other sports, was always at the events when I played. And I always got hurt playing other sports other than football. There was no ambulance. There was always just Coach Pitts and I in his personal car, bleeding or whatever, on the way to the hospital, calling Dr. Smith. Meet us there, it's Dee Dee, it's 11 o'clock at night. And I'm so thankful for that type of leadership. Even though I was the first black quarterback, as Mr. Harden mentioned, Coach Pitts never talked about it. We never mentioned race. In his eyes, we bled black and gold, not black and white. He loved golf, and so he didn't have a problem with me playing golf. I got a chance to play a little golf with my other football teammate, Ricky Willingham, called him Bunny Rabbit. He was also a training quarterback and a defensive back. And Ricky was just always a bundle of laughs everywhere he went. Coach Pitts was always serious. And I tell you, he almost drove him crazy with his horseplay. And I tell you, one day he hit him in the head with the football. And I thought, oh, Lord, I just heard taps playing in my head because I thought that was going to be the end of Ricky. But I enjoyed playing sports of all kinds, especially football, basketball, baseball, ever since the 4th grade all the way to high school. And tonight I want to kind of put things into perspective a little bit, and if I seem to drift off, and I'm going to try not to do that too much. This award is so significant to me because I have the honor of being inducted in the Sports Hall of Fame with my mother. And it's so special to me. She passed a couple of years ago. So it's very special. It doesn't get any better. Simply because my mother was someone that exuded of discipline, compassion, ethics, morals that I could only aspire to live up to. She possessed an uncanny ability to discipline children and make you feel loved at the same time. She was this sense of principle, so she was always tasked with disciplining the children. She was that bridge during integration and dealing with mothers, and she gravitated to those that were less fortunate, children that had troubled homes. I watched her sacrifice to make sure that every child had decent shoes, clothes, whatever. She sacrificed to the extent that she shuffled different outfits and made sure that we didn't go without. She was very strict, and in those days, she would paddle you, or, as Toby would say, if you interrupted her science class or you fell asleep, you got a tennis ball thrown at you. She left such a lasting impression on all of us, so many of us. When she gave her induction, she was beginning to sort of get a little dementia. She broke her glasses before she came up to speak. So she didn't read. She spoke from memory, and she stumbled a little bit. And it was a little difficult to watch. But as you all are tonight, and those who were in attendance that night were so gracious and reciprocative of the love that she typically extended to you. And for that, I'm so thankful. Mom rose from very meager beginnings, one of 7 children, by Luther Dillard and Pansy Waterman. Pansy Waterman was the grandchild of a German immigrant who came here in 1865, Jewish. My grandfather, her grandfather, Luther Dillard, was the grandchild of an enslaved mother, Cherry Dillard, born in 1823, right over here where you call the Dillard voting district. Cherry taught the children to read and write, so my ancestors came out of slavery, reading and writing. Quite an accomplishment and very instrumental in bringing my family to the point that we are now. She purchased 3 acres in Forsyth for $15 in 1869 after the Civil War. And that was the beginning of the uplifting of my family. And at that time, at that crossroads, she had a decision. She could have bought a new horse, a fancy dress that she had seen the other women around her going to church every Sunday, or some new shoes or a new horse. But she bought 3 acres for $15. And it's the value of that, and it's just significant to all of us in my family. And those values trickled down to my mother, who was so sacrificial in the way she treated others. She worked at the barber shop in the day. She went to school at night at Fort Valley, acquired a bachelor's degree, became a teacher, went to Mercer University, got her master's degree. Gentle at heart, but tough as nails. And I thank her for her love and her guidance. But let's not forget my dad's influence on me and my family. A North Carolina A&T graduate and a hard-working Mason that built our house, our basketball goals, our aquarium, and everything else that we needed around the house. He provided it. We wore out the wood ping pong tables so fast, he built a concrete one for us. We always had the best basketball goal, plenty of manicured lawn to play football, baseball, marbles, ping pong. And for that, Dad, I'm thankful for it. He made me tough. He didn't want a weak boy. So, at a young age, he always challenged me. When I was 3, he'd sit beside me, grab a hunk of meat, my arm on my side, look me in the eye and pinch me and tell me, "Don't you cry." Seriously. He'd take me outside. We had a clothesline. He'd tell me to grab a hold of that clothesline. He'd turn his back. I'm 3 years old. He said, "Don't you turn it loose. Hold on." Yeah, child abuse, I know. But it made me the man that I am today, and I thank you. By the time I was 13, he had me carrying 2 40-pound blocks in each hand, which came in handy later on as a quarterback. So by the time I reached Coach Pitts, it was easy to follow the strict guidelines because he had already instilled them at home. The blessing of a father in the home. Blessed to have had 2 nurturing parents who disciplined and loved me, laid the groundwork that I would later use in parenting my own children. When I stopped attending Williams College, I made a conscious decision, make an honest living, and I went on to be a law enforcement police officer, 5 or 6 years, integrated the DO2 enforcement here unit in the state of Georgia. Only black that had a mobile unit in northern half of the state of Georgia. On to 31 years at the Postal Service, retired at 56. And the other thing was to get married and devote as much time as I could to my children. Chasing money wasn't the priority because I had been shown from my ancestors there was a bigger picture, not to put money in my pockets, but to make the next generation better for the future That was what was important to me. And then now I'm reaping that success and my children's success. And so I'm rich in family, and that's priceless. My lovely wife, Pamela, 33 years, cancer survivor, tough as nails, sacrificed to take a job at George Walton High School. I don't know if you're all familiar with it. It's the #1 high school, charter high school in this state of Georgia, so that we could give them the best education that they could get. That school also is so competitive that you're almost at the level of college. When you leave there, college becomes easy. It's an easy transition. My son declared a petroleum engineer major, went to LSU with in-state fees. My daughter, Mercer University, cross-country scholarship, on to Charleston School of Law. And after 10 years, my daughter's still the 800-meter record holder at Mercer University. So my work is done. As the third of 4 children, I was able to feed off the achievements of both my brother and my sister. Despite my sister's, Reva's, physical challenges of being born with polio and a quadriplegic, she was the extraordinary one. Whew. What she lacked physically was multiplied mentally. She had the hand quickness and balance that was unmatched. She could literally use one hand and kill a fly on the other hand. She used a barrel about the size of a 5-gallon paint bucket. And she would scoot around the house. She would use that bucket. She'd tilt it to the left, tilt it to the right, while leaning forward with her arms in a fixed position. No counterbalance, skills, no fear. And I have a photo of her riding a horse. Can you imagine? Can you imagine having a mosquito light on your ear or your nose or your eyelid, or your buttock may need a scratch, but you can't do it? What would you do? It would drive you crazy. Yes, she had the mental ability to control her mind, not let it bother her. Can you imagine this? The things that we take for granted. So how could I possibly complain? How could I not believe that I could do anything? Everyone wanted to be her friend, push her chair, carry her books to the next classroom. Ask Ralph Moore. Or Kenny Walker. And God rest Marcus Whitehead's soul. He would be there right there too. Because of her disabilities, she attracted and gravitated others who had disabilities to her. One of her classmates, Randy, he had one arm. He wore a prosthetic, but he took it off when he was playing sports with us: football, baseball, basketball, marbles, or ping pong. He even made the high school basketball team. It always amazed me to watch him play baseball. Catch the ball with his glove, throw the ball in the air, throw the glove off his hand, reach back, catch the ball, and throw you out. Skills, heart, how could I complain? Then there was my brother, one of the best at shooting a BB gun, and boy, shooting marbles, playing basketball. and ping pong. He was a trash talker. He got it from Daddy. It was part of the mind game. If he wasn't good enough, he could talk you out of it and beat you. He was very competitive, hated to lose, and so did I. Being 7 years younger than him, it caused me to always want to play hard. And if you wanted to play, you had to step your game up. We didn't get held back, but we had to play with older kids. That was the key that made us all better. And he's quite deserving of the induction as well. First black board-certified anesthesiologist in Macon, Georgia. Saved countless lives. One of the first black kids, as Dolores mentioned, to integrate Banks-Stevens. Yeah, he fought after school. I didn't have to experience that. He did. He had an awesome basketball jump shot from the corner, which was one of the most difficult shots on the floor. He went from there to Presbyterian College in Clinton, South Carolina, walked on, received a full basketball scholarship, one of 20 black kids at the school and one of 3 on the team. So before I go any further, Percy mentioned in talking about the bridge of the integration at that time. My brother mentioned at that time that Coach Pitts was ahead of the game. He took all those athletes, the black athletes, Percy and them, he took them to camp and he merged them with the white kids before school. So when school started, they saw all of the top black and white athletes getting along like it was nothing. So what are we to complain about? Let's just roll with this. Everybody else is cool with it. And I appreciate him for taking the time to do that and have that forethought. So before I played Little League sports, as Dolores said, we had the neighborhood rivalries. Kids mixed of all ages and sizes. And if you were young, you had to step it up. Blunt Hill, Union Hill versus Culloden Road, Belltown. These were the rivalries that made us better. Neighborhood, tackle football, no pads. My neighbor, Jabbo Proctor, walk over every day. Anybody who knows Jabbo, his thigh was big as my waist. So I was glad that he picked me to be on his team most of the time. Along with us, Calvin Lyons, Tony Smith, Lynn Evans, Chuck Wilder, Bud Avery, Floyd Willis, occasionally Fred Chalmers, Clifford Davis, Sammy Brown, Darrell Ogletree, Jay Hogan, Malcolm Cofer. All these guys would just walk to the house because we had the nice basketball goal. We had the nice big yard to play. And so everybody played at our house and competing and challenging, rain, shine, sleet, or snow. And as friends began to play organized sports, I decided to play organized sports. I fell in suit. First time I tried to play for in Little League, I got there late, so I didn't get drafted. So they made me the water boy for the Chargers. You talking about starting from the bottom? I started from the bottom. Water boy. Next year, Mike Peavy, along with a little nudging from some of my friends, drafted me as quarterback. That was the beginning of being placed at the quarterback position. I don't know if you all remember Mike. He was a great guy. He had a tragic accident and died the year after that. After that, that was the beginning of Phil Walker stepping into the picture. Phil, without realizing it, I was leaving an impression on Phil that would later prompt Phil to tell Coach Pitts, this is your next quarterback. You see, people don't understand the gravity of the feeder program around here and what Phil Walker had influence on bringing us up into the program so that we were ready for Coach Pitts. He didn't have to start us from scratch. Phil had us ready. In the 7th grade, Coach Pitts approached me. He said, I want to groom you as the next quarterback. Okay. Well, he told me you got a couple of things you got to do. You can't get in trouble, and you have to make A's and B's, no C's. So I began the journey. So he told me to show up for practice in sweatsuits and a helmet. Coach Pierce told everybody, don't hit him. And I was praying because at that time, that was 70s football. I was in the presence of Jeff Castleberry, Frankie Zellner, Nate Davis, Jerome Chalmers, Randall Dennis, Randy Henderson, Jeff Shivers, Bobby Rutherford, Jay Hogan, Darrell Ogletree, Ernest Brown, Elliott Chandler, Ricky Rooks, all these guys, Thumbo Redding. Oh my goodness. He walked up to me. Coach Pitts told him, don't hit me. He grabbed my hand and scratched the blood out of my arm. He said, now you're ready. I said, wow, we're good friends to the day. He also contributed a lot to the Little League programs around here. That 70s team, like I said, it was just a different change and transition of football. These guys were just gods and gladiators to me. Every summer from the 7th grade, we spent training for quarterback. After Jeff left, that was Ricky Wilson, and it was his turn at quarterback. And I quickly gained his bond, and I appreciated it because at that time, that was what I needed. And I'm thankful to you, Ricky. You took me under your wing and helped motivate me. And I feel awkward being here because he's totally deserving. Totally. That's who broke Stewart's record. 15 touchdown passes. Most yards passing in a game. That's Ricky. His stats as a team weren't the best, but his personally were good. I copied Jeff's style of option and Ricky's style of passing. How could I go wrong? We both had large hands and gripped the ball a little differently. Coach Pitts had a special grip for us. When it was raining, he put our thumb on the threads. Only a few people could do that. But that's just how talented Ricky was, and I was just trying to follow in his footsteps. I had the honor of practicing also with Bob Harris. That was really his backup. Eddie Rowland, Ricky Willingham, we call him Bunny Rabbit. And then later, Greg Elrod came in behind me. And that was the pinnacle with the next year when they won the championship. Not sure who told Bill when he was going to be my center, but he was out there as well in sweats. We bonded together with precision clockwork for years and never fumbled once. Because we knew it would be a mouthful from Coach Pitts and 25 push-ups, fingertip, right then and there. We'd been together since 4th grade, all the way to high school and Gordon Junior College in the 12th grade. Outside of this rigorous practice schedule, Coach Pitts instilled a pattern of how we should conduct ourselves day in and day out, especially on game day. I won't say he was superstitious, but you sure had to do everything the same way, every week, in and out. No questions asked. And so did he. Nobody taped my ankles other than him, and it was always the right ankle before the left ankle. No horseplay, none. Totally forbidden. Sit down for the game, visualize what you got to do, and go out there and execute. Always serious. A lot at stake. His disciplinary ways set the tone for everyone, and his success was unmatched. As we approached the winning 150th game, as I began starting quarterback, never mentioned it, never put any pressure on me. I never even knew. At that time, we were also changing sides of the field. That was a hard sell to him because he did everything the same way. My defensive unit held the record that year for the least amount of points scored, only 29. It's a state record, and they should be honored for that. And because of that, along with the teamwork of everyone, it's what brought on that 13-1 season. I'm extremely proud of our team, and a lot of us grew up together, bonding, sharing childhood, Little League, and beautiful things back and forth. And that bond back then is what culminated and brought us together, playing football together. All of us, we played football together, baseball, basketball, as children. And even Sonny, he played with us before he left to go to the academy. Sonny played for the Falcons. I'll leave it at that. And then when we were 10, he was the kick, pass, and punt first class place. I was the first class punt, kick, and pass at 11. But it was both in the same year. Also, having sports with the other guys growing up, a lot of things transpired. And like I said, the bonding was just there. The first Coke I ever shared with a white guy happened playing for the Orioles. I was about 8 or 9. It was Jim Benson. It was a hot, dusty, dirty day. He walked up to me, he said, "Give me a swallow." Before I could look up, it was almost gone. And ironically, he's the one that broke my finger before the Lincoln County game. But there was no hard feelings. I knew it was a mistake. He and I had grown up together, swimming in creeks, trying to catch fish with our bare hands. And if you've ever done it, you only know there's one way to do that, so we won't even go there. But that's the type of bonding we had as children. All I'm saying is that we were uniquely bonded as kids that brought us together to culminate, to make a winning team. Coach Pitts was a winner in a disciplinary, and outside of that, there was just nothing else. That's pretty much it. I thank y'all.